Welcome to part 2 of our top 10 shows of 2024 coverage. We are the Lorehounds, your guides to podcasts that go on too long and have to stretch into 2 episodes. But this year we planned it because it happened last year. And so here we are with the second part of our public second breakfast, where we interview all of the co-hosts and affiliates that we could get on the mic and find out what their top 3 shows are of the year. Don't forget, if you missed it, on the public feed and on the Patreon and Supercast feeds, you can find our top 10 rankings for the Triarchy, the 3 of us, David, Alicia, and I, and also the community rankings. So we used a ranked choice system. We made sure that every vote that went in counted for something. You can enjoy that. I think it's about 2.5 hours. Go check that out. If you want to send us any feedback on any of this, please send us an email to lorehounds@thelorehounds.com, or you can head into our Discord server, where we have a whole channel dedicated to all your debates of what are the top 10 shows of 2024. Check all that out. It's in the link tree. And don't forget, if you want more Second Breakfast, you can sign up for Supercast or Patreon and support us and get a ton of bonus content. Thanks, everyone, and enjoy the conversations. All right, with me is Marilyn Arpukila, our favorite Tolkien scholar, here to give her 3 top shows of 2024. Marilyn, what do you got for me?
Well, I'm going to cheat a little bit because, well, you'll see. I'm actually going to give you top 5 very quickly. But these are shows that would not appear on the Lorehounds, but I just wanted to show you the sort of...
Oh, you don't have to pick a Lorehound show. You can always rank shows that we did not cover.
And that's what I'm doing here. So, number 5 is Bridgerton. Okay. I'd never seen it before. Caught up with it and then watched the newest series to the end and then started watching Queen Charlotte. Its historical details in terms of costume and so forth are very, very good, and I like the plots, and it's not for young children. They do get very sexual in a lot of their things, but for some reason that often bothers me, but in this case it doesn't, so good on them. And then speaking of historical fiction, there's The Crown. Again, hadn't watched any of it when it was coming out year to year, but decided in the final season that we'd at least check it out. And as an historian of England, I know there's a lot of liberties that they took. I still enjoyed it as a series because, kind of like what Rings of Power has taught me, I was taking it on their own terms. And I wanted to see, okay, what stories are they telling? Why are they telling it that way? And again, the production value is stunning. Yeah. And really interesting to listen to the official podcast because they several times referred... This is why I loved it. They referred to their research historian, who they would go to for all kinds of questions and details, and so she had a lot to say, and that I really loved that a lot. Oh, very nice. Okay, that's my indulgence. Number 3 for me is Shogun. Okay. Which is interesting because I never watched it.
That is very interesting. How did you get there?
I got there through the podcast, through having my own contributions historically included in feedback, through Nate's wonderful historical information.
He's back for Pachinko.
I know. Well, I'm not going to watch Pachinko. I don't think I'm even going to participate in it. I'm listening to it. I am listening, though, and it sounds fascinating. It's very clear that it's not my kind of show, so apologies to all you Pachinko lovers out there. Yeah, I did see 2 bits of it. Okay, I did see Mariko in the courtyard.
Okay, beautiful scene.
Famous scene there. And I watched John Black teaching the Shogun how to dance a hornpipe. that was just really cool. But I was drawn to it basically because of the Lorehounds coverage. And, hearing good things about it. It seemed to be really... If you're going to do a historical recreation in that sense, that it seemed like they were firing on all cylinders, and so much praise for it that I thought it had to be there.
Yeah, beautiful subversion of violent tropes in favor of the story of an individual woman coming over, really taking over a society with her resistance.
Yeah. No, it was great. So number 2 is Agatha.
Okay.
Again,
Good choice.
wonderful production values, great podcast coverage from everybody. I contributed, various comments and so forth. I was disappointed that they stuck with the tired old stereotype of the witch, because I taught courses on the religion of contemporary witchcraft. So I come at it from that angle, and I know about the ways that nature are used. I know about the concepts, the fact that this is a living, breathing, growing religion. There is a 501c3 category of churches that are, in fact, Wiccan covenant.
Mm-hmm.
And there are pagan representations on the World Consultation to World Religions. There are Wiccans serving in the military. The military can now get Wiccan images on their gravestones if they want to. So it's a real thing, and it was done so spectacularly. It was so eye-catching. It was so memorable and touching that, once again, it's just going to reinforce, the tired old stereotype. It'll be interesting to talk with Leisha about this when we get to Wicked.
Yeah.
Because Margaret Hamilton with her green skin was one of the classic creators of current day witch stereotypes.
There's a clip of her on Mr. Rogers circulating where she shows a lot of empathy for the Wicked Witch, and she goes, she is someone who just is trying to get what she wants and is keeping and continues to be struck down. And you could see that there were sort of the roots of what would become Wicked in
absolutely.
In the original performance.
Yeah, I tried to read the book, and I just couldn't stand the depressing child abuse that was going on.
Yeah, the book's a lot darker. I started reading it at one point, I really had the same experience.
I just couldn't go there. I loved the middle chunk. The first episode and the last episode of Agatha were the most disturbing and distressing to me.
Mm-hmm.
But the middle chunk, where they're forming the coven, they're on the journey, they're doing all these things, that was good. There was character development. They were drawing upon, things related to witchcraft in good ways. I loved the character of Lelia. She was my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And as listeners to the podcast will know, that became the Lilia of our little coven that got formed for us. And then it just all was spoiled for me by this woman who decides it's all right for her to kill witches.
Well, at the same time, I think if we're going to fairly depict any group, it's not going to be all good and it's not going to be all bad. There's going to be good and bad members of that group.
Of course there are. But the good members just have not gotten equal representation.
I hear what you're saying.
And with something as big and as well done as this series was, I'm just sorry that, Lilia was really about the only one I can think of who... Well,
Jen got there in the end.
Jen was good. Yeah. Alice was good. So it was all her coven mates, who were like, okay, I could live with this. Yeah. I definitely could.
I would say the good ones outnumbered the bad.
Yeah, and yet Agatha remains the focus of attention, and why Billy wants to go off with her to look for his brother. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Anyway,
but you liked it enough to make it your number 2.
I did. Based on quality and, a whole lot of things. Number 1 was Rings of Power.
I couldn't have seen that coming from a mile away.
Yeah, I'm sure you could. Because you had your blindfold on, right?
Yep.
Yeah, no, it was so much better than season 1.
It was.
Really improved. And again, thinking production values, the amount of time and energy put in, the costuming, all the visuals, spectacular. Bear McCreary's amazing score. The unfolding of these characters, and yes, they're going off the reservation, they're going off the rails as far as people who want to stick to Tolkien's writings are concerned, and I certainly am one of those who respects the lore, otherwise I wouldn't be here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having done the podcast of Rings and Rituals really helped me to develop a lens that said, I want to watch this as a story that the storytellers are developing. And they're Tolkien adjacent most of the time if they're not actually reproducing Tolkien. And so I would not have had the kind of insight into orcs that I did if they had not done what they did in the 2 series, which really stretched. I mean, there was lore justification for all the things they did, but golly, people had a hard time with it.
Yeah.
And then as a result said, oh, well, Tolkien wouldn't like this. And all I can say to that is, you've talked with him lately? Have you read
It's a little hard to have a conversation
all 12 volumes of the Histories of Middle-earth and seen how his own ideas about orcs change over time? But, David and I did that podcast episode, and it was incredibly moving to me. And then
and to a lot of people.
This season, what happened when Adar put on Galadriel's ring, completely out of left field, and it was so wonderful. Yes, there is a possibility for redemption, and then heartbreaking when it was cut off. So, yeah, I thought they did really well. Elrond got me a bit fussed for a while. He was a bit of a nudnik. I don't know what you want to call it. I called him worse thing at one point, but he redeemed himself in the end. When he finally realized, okay, my friend's life really is more important to me than my own purity in approaching to these issues of good and evil, and what are the tools that you use to accomplish your ends and so forth. So I'm really looking forward to where they go from there, and I hope that they continue on, onward and upward.
Yeah, it was a really great season. I'm looking forward to season 3, and I'm glad that you put it at number 1. I think that's very fitting for you, Marilyn.
Well, thanks. I probably am the only one who did out of all the folks that you're going to be.
It was under consideration for me. By the time I haven't actually put together my full list since.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm recording this in the past, and by the time this gets to people's ear holes, they'll have already heard probably my top 10. But that's still in the recesses of my mind. But for now, I have to dig into the recesses of your mind and ask you some rapid fire bonus questions.
You didn't tell me about this.
All right.
Carry on.
I didn't, and I'm sorry.
That's all right.
What was your biggest miss of the year? So a show that you wish you had watched and plan to watch in the future.
Yeah, you asked this last year, and I was prepared. I'm just having a really hard time remembering what all the shows were that we covered this year.
You got Dune, House of the Dragon. You've got Echo, the Marvel show.
Well, I really wish I could have watched Echo, but I'm just not into that level of violence. And people all said, "Oh yeah, on the Pagila scale," and I'm like, "Okay, fine." I really would have liked to have seen a Marvel story through the lens of indigenous concepts. So I'm sorry that didn't happen.
Yeah.
But
that's your biggest miss then?
I think so. Now, of course, as soon as we end this conversation, I'll think, oh, why didn't I say this? But
I think that's a good big miss. I mean, it's one of my biggest misses of the year. And if I think you kind of already answered this by doing your top 5, but your guilty pleasure wild card of the year, something that wouldn't go on your top 3, but you would like to give a shout out to anyway?
Oh, no, this is the same answer as last year, and it's The Librarians.
Yeah.
We still haven't finished that. Other things keep popping up and saying, oh, well, let's watch this now. Because The Librarians, thank goodness, are on free watch and various streaming methods. So, yes, it's creative, it's entertaining, they have challenges and so on, but there's character development. And there is some lore going on there. But it's nice to just kick back and relax and, watch some of those. I don't say that it's a guilty pleasure. I don't.
Yeah, it's a wild card, we're calling them.
Yeah.
All right, so
my candy pleasure, my popcorn pleasure.
There you go.
Like
there you go. So, last question: your most anticipated show of 2025? Severance, and/or you've got The Wheel of Time season 3. A lot of stuff going on. What's for you?
Yeah, Andor.
Yeah,
Andor is really it. Yeah. No, I remember again, it's interesting. That's one of the ones where we watched the first episode and said, I don't want to spend any time with these people. And then everybody else said, oh, this is great. This is what and you guys kind of gently said, well, there's this and there's that. And I got into it and I was like, oh, it's the hero's journey. And we did that wonderful episode together about that. And,
yeah, that was great.
Yeah, no, you really helped me, again, shift the viewing somewhat and see, okay, yeah.
We try.
And I don't know how much of it was the phenomenon of, well, this isn't my Star Wars, because I don't really do that necessarily. I like to see the different worlds and things. I forgot Acolyte. Golly, I just remembered. Was that this year, Acolyte?
That was this year, yeah.
Oh, holy cow. I guess Shogun is going to drop to number 4.
You're going to change it last minute, huh?
Well,
All right, fair enough.
because I watched it. I watched Acolyte.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think I have to do that. And I was some pissed that they didn't renew it. So.
I know. I'm still pissed about it. I hope they change their minds somehow. I don't think it's going to happen, but
you see, this is the problem. I've already forgotten it because,
I know.
moving into all these other things. So, yeah, I'm really glad you said that, John. Yeah, no, the story was fantastic. The characters are great. The imagery, the concepts. We had some really serious discussions about things like social work and, telling a story from different points of view and how does that story actually look. And, they're still drinking from the well of, evil characters are not as evil as you think they are kind of thing, which, not my favorite trope. But, it's interesting to see how people try to justify stuff.
Yeah.
But golly, that was just wicked to leave us.
I know.
With so many dangling threads. And
I know.
Such a powerful series. And, more than a little of it was due to the haters. And that really distresses me.
Well, Marilyn, fear not. There's plenty more Star Wars coming in 2025. It's been a lovely year of podcasting with you. And
likewise,
I hope you
John.
have a happy
Thank
new
you.
year.
And to you. Thanks a lot.
It's John in the future now. Marilyn wrote to me just after we recorded and said, please, John, clarify after the recording that I really should have said the Acolyte would be my number 2 and Agatha would be my number 3. So, Marilyn, don't worry. We've corrected your rankings.
Hey, Lorehounds, I'm Mark.
And I'm Nicole.
And this is not Nevermind the Music, not quite.
What are we talking about today, Mark?
We are doing our wrap-up for 2024 for the Lorehounds. First question, top 3 shows of 2024. Who's going first?
I'll go first. My top 3 shows for 2024 are notably not Lorehoundy, but here it is. I really liked English Teacher. I thought that was a hilarious show. You should binge it on Hulu and also follow him on Instagram because he has great content. I also really like...
Wait, him? Like the creator
the
or
creator.
The English teacher?
He plays the English teacher and he's also the creator. And he is doing this big marketing push to have people watch the English teacher where he just posts the same video every day over and over again. And at first it was annoying, but now it's
become funny.
Really funny.
Yeah.
I also really enjoyed season 2 of Shrinking. It's one of my favorite shows, just as someone that kind of lives in this counseling world, psychology world.
Did you like season 1 of Shrinking?
I did. I was a fan for sure.
Because we're watching it now. We're catching up. I'm struggling a little bit with it. The jokes feel a little bit like the teenager talks like she was written by a 40-something.
Well, yeah.
A little bit. So I'm struggling with it, but we're still hanging in there.
Season 2 is better.
Okay.
It gets darker and more nuanced in a way that really tickles me. And I love the cast. I think it's just a great ensemble and they add more characters into the second season that feels very rich and great. So I'd check it out.
Does Harrison Ford get frozen in carbonite at the end of the second season?
I don't want to spoil it for you, Mark. Come on, be cool. And then the third, I kind of debated, but I am going to nod to the Lorehounds and say Agatha All Along. I really, really enjoyed that. More than I thought I would. It was my first kind of real entry into the MCU, which I know is a weird path to take, but I really, really loved it. And I'm bummed that it didn't get more accolades during the upcoming awards season, that people didn't honor Agatha because it was so good.
Yeah, that was a good show. Love that show.
How about you?
All right, my 3. I've got the second season of Interview with the Vampire. Did you watch that at all? So it's based on the Anne Rice books, and I read those years ago. I read a bunch of them, probably like half the series, which is like 6 books or whatever, back in the 2000s. And
is Brad Pitt in it?
Brad Pitt is not in this one. It's the guy who plays Grey Worm from Game of Thrones. Did you watch Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
He's
all
awesome
right.
in it. But anyway, second season, it's just so good. Like it's one of those things where they've changed so much from the books, and it's so much better, I think. Like I reread the original book it's based on. First 2 seasons are based on the first book, and I just found myself liking the book so much less than the season of TV. So highly recommended, folks. I'm sure it'll get full coverage by the Lorehounds next time around. My second one is a Lorehounds show, though not maybe the one people would think. True Detective Night Country, which is the newest season. I just really enjoyed the energy of it, the vibe of it. It had a lot of what I loved about the first season and the third season of that show. So really like that one. I did struggle with the last one because I participated in the Lord of the Rings and all that. I kind of really wanted to do that, but I think I'm going with the second season of House of the Dragon. I'm just so immersed in that world that it became appointment TV, and so was Rings of Power, but there's something about, I don't even know that it's how good it was, the second season of that show, but I was sucking it all up. Like I just really enjoyed it.
I haven't seen that yet. We're still trying to finish Game of Thrones. My husband's saying we need to watch Game of Thrones before House of the Dragon, which I know isn't really the right order according to the timeline.
It's the right order. Yeah.
But like according to that's what we need to do. So we're almost done, but
you'll like it. It's good. It's a good show.
Yeah, cool.
All right. Biggest miss of the year. This does not mean the worst show. This is which show do you wish you watched that you were like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't watch that.
I wish I watched House of the Dragon. I wish that I was following along with it because it's so much in the lexicon and the culture I live in that I know stuff about it that's going to take away from the viewing experience.
Yeah. We were moving during House of the Dragon season 1 and I felt so disconnected, like fearing spoilers and stuff. Like I hadn't read the book it was based on at the time, right? So it's so much better to be engaged when it's happening.
Sure. How about you?
I actually sort of have a tie. One is Shogun, which I've heard so many good things about it. I do not have Hulu. So I'll have to catch it some other way in the future.
Hulu's the best one.
Is it the best one?
I think it's
What's
the
on
best
Hulu?
one. English Teacher.
Okay.
Anything that's on regular TV is on Hulu.
That's true. I guess that's true. You watch more regular TV than
I
me.
watch sitcoms and stuff. Yeah.
We Are Lady Parts is my other miss. I really liked the first season of that. I don't even know what that's on. I don't remember. It's on one of the random ones. It's about this British all-female, all-Muslim punk rock band.
That's cool.
It's funny.
I've heard of it, but I never watched it. I kind of forgot that it existed.
It just scratches an itch for me. I really liked the first season, so have not seen second season. I don't even know how well reviewed it was, but I wish I was watching it.
Do you ever watch Sex Education?
My wife watches that.
It's good.
It makes me uncomfortable because I walk in the room and I'm like, these are supposed to be high schoolers, right? And I'm like, yeah, I can't.
Well, it's happening.
I can't watch that. Like, sorry, you can perv if you want, wife. I'm not perving. Okay.
Perv.
Guilty pleasure for you. Is there a show you watched? I know you've made some allusions. Are there some shows you watched that you sort of aren't so sure are good, but you loved them?
Oh, all the shows I watch, I'm not so sure are good, but I love them. The latest season of Love is Blind. 100%. Got so into it. Do you watch Love is Blind?
No, you've mentioned it before.
Do you know the premise of it?
Blind date stuff?
No. So they bring a bunch of couples, they're pre-screened and personality tested, I'm sure, into an environment that they date in between a wall. Like they put them in pods.
Oh.
The pods share a wall that you can communicate through, and they date and propose and accept the marriage proposal without seeing each other. And then they do a big reveal that they see each other. And then they go on a honeymoon together. And that's usually where things fall apart. About 4 weeks into the whole experience, they go and have a wedding and they decide on the altar if they're going to actually marry this person.
That's a healthy foundation.
It's it's delicious. And sometimes it works, but sometimes they see each other and they're like, nope.
Yikes. My guilty pleasure, I feel kind of bad because I don't know if this is good or bad. I really enjoyed it, though. It's called Three Body Problem. Have you heard of this? It's on Netflix.
I've seen it. It was great.
Yeah, see, I really enjoyed it, but like, I'm kind of like, I don't know if this is good. Like, I don't know that I buy like all these 30-year-old supermodel PhDs. Like, they always like super.
Oh, I'm thinking of something else.
There's something about, so I'm a sucker for search for extraterrestrial intelligence stuff. So it's like, what if an alien answered the message that they sent out in the 70s? That's like the premise, and stuff starts getting weird 30 years later or 40 years later when they start communicating.
I'm thinking of a show called Bodies.
I don't know what that is. But
it's based on a comic book. The Lorehounds will know.
Lorehounds, respond.
Can you let us know? Yeah.
Three Body Problem is based on a series of novels that I think originally Mandarin language novels. But I don't know. I'm really enjoying it, but I'm not so sure how good it is. But I like it. I'm a sucker for it. Last question. Most anticipated show of 2025?
I've been really into Silo lately, and I'm eager to see where that goes. I'm like, I'm caught up with season 2, so I just want to keep watching that. That's what I'm really into right now.
I wonder if season 3 will probably be 2026. Though.
Maybe. But they'll have to finish.
Because it's still going into 2020.
Yeah.
We probably only have a few episodes left, but
I don't really have my finger on the pulse of like what's anticipated.
Yeah.
What's your most anticipated show?
We got another tie. Severance. Did you watch Severance?
I don't, but everyone says to watch it. We started weird. And like we got through 2 episodes and I was like, I can't do this show. But I think I need to like keep at it. You got to
stay the course.
Yes, that's what everyone says.
3 or 4 episodes and then it starts to make sense.
Right.
So Severance is great. Okay. Or season 3 of Wheel of Time. I go back way back with Wheel of Time, and it's an imperfect show, but it's appointment viewing for me just because it scratches an itch ever since I was like 13 or whatever. So that's what we got.
Thanks for listening.
Wait, can we cue the theme music now? Yeah. I
don't know.
Jean, how you doing?
I'm good, David. How are you?
Hanging in there, man. Crazy time of year.
The best time of year. Some people would say the best time of year.
I'm just ready to start my vacation next week. So
there you go.
Yeah. So how has your year in television been?
It's been great.
Yeah.
I thought that for the most part, everything that I watched, I loved.
Okay.
So there was a lot of highs, not too many lows, but definitely a lot of highs.
It seemed like there was a lot of television this year.
There was.
I haven't even touched my top 10 list, and I went to look at it the other day, and in the last 6 months or so, I've just been throwing things at my list and then just not even dealing with it. And I'm going back and I'm going, oh my gosh, what a mess. And the number of shows that I started that didn't finish.
Right.
And the things that were overlapping. It was like a hectic year.
Yeah. When John said, give me your top 3, I'm like, 3?
Dude.
Hey, come on, man. 3? Like, oh gosh, how do I do that? But
well, otherwise our top 10 podcast with all the co-hosts would be like 4 hours long.
Of course. So, it was like, even my top 3 is in flux constantly. So.
Yeah, right. I might just end up going on vibes when I do mine.
There you go. I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's very simple. I have an idea what might be yours, but we'll see.
Okay.
Here, take your headphones off for a second, and I'll tell the listening audience. I think he's going to pick the penguin. All right, come back. All right, I told the listening audience what I thought.
Oh, okay, good.
So we'll see we'll see if I'm right. Okay. All right, so hit me with your number 3.
Wow, number 3. That's going to be Agatha.
Oh, nice one. Very cool.
My number 3 is Agatha.
Okay.
I absolutely adore this show. I love it. I have nothing negative to say about any of the 3 that I'm going to name.
Oh, okay.
So they're just outstanding viewing. And again, I would say that, today Agatha is 3, but Agatha could very well be 1 on Saturday. So this is how I'm feeling.
Some serious fluidity.
Yeah, definitely. But I really love the show. I love the vibe. I love the acting, the costuming, the colors, the everything on screen, everything that I heard was just outstanding. And the story itself was great.
Great. enough comic book tie-in for you.
Yeah, definitely enough comic book tie-in, and also real life human tie-in. And when we spoke about it, on our pod, Alicia and I kept going back to this point where they're telling this story, a very human story, a very relatable story from this fantastical type of world, filled with magic and superpowers and things like that. But at the core, it's a very real and
it's interesting. I was talking to Anthony and Steve earlier, recording their top threes, and Mr. and Mrs. Smith made it on one of their lists.
Okay,
and it's the same thing. It's a kind of romantic comedy, but it's about it's about relationships between romantic partners and dating and all of this kind of stuff. But then it has this crazy outer wrapper of we're assassins, right? But that crazy outer wrapper allows you to get inside this issue or these issues and these stories in a different way. Where if it was just like, oh, here's a relationship about two people dating, we'd be like, move on. But because it's crazy and full of action, and same with Agatha, it was this, there's this magic and there's all this drama stuff going on. But then when it really gets down to it, it's about grief and pain and how we can get in touch with our feelings and a lot of stuff.
To the point you just said, I think because these stories take place in these fantastical worlds, I think it gives filmmakers and showrunners an opportunity to really dig into things that they might not be able to dig into if we were saying this was real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this was really an example of them being able to take something truly, magnificent. And, kudos to Marvel for letting them do what they did.
Seriously, right? After some of the things that Marvel Studios has given us, like thank you for just landing a solid show,
absolutely,
giving the showrunners the room to run,
to breathe, and they did breathe, and it was wonderful to watch.
And I think that's something that, we Lorehound, that's what we feast on, is good human stories, right?
Yes.
When the heart is in conflict with itself.
Oh God.
All right. What's your number two?
My number two is Shogun.
Okay, nice word. Very cool. I like it.
My number two is Shogun. Again, another great acting, visually stunning, full of heart, as you would say, and just really gripping. I'm someone who watched the original Shogun.
Yeah, same with me. Yep.
Not as a child, but as a young adult. Right?
Okay, I think I watched it when it was airing on TV.
Okay. I didn't see it as a child. I saw it as a young adult, and knowing the basics of the story, this still held my attention. Right. I was still in awe of this story. And it could have very well gone in a different way. It could have very well been like, been there, done that. And it wasn't anything but that. The authenticity of the characters, how they played their roles, just really, really good stuff.
Right on. Very cool. Yeah, and we'll see what they can do, if they can pull off future episodes or not, or seasons. I mean, sorry. Yeah, it's there was a kind of deep satisfaction knowing that they were going to tell the one story in the one season and call it good.
Right.
And then when they went to announce that, hey, we're going to do some more, I'm simultaneously nervous and excited, because the story, the crafting of that visual storytelling that they did was just exquisite. And the stories, like you said, and the actors are so good. It's so compelling. I just don't want them to mess up the season one because they're trying to do a season two.
I see it differently. Differently. I'm here for the season two if we get it.
Okay.
And if
so am I. I'll be there.
Right,
I'll be there.
No, right. But if it's not good, I'm still going to watch season one. I'm still going to watch season one. What we just saw will not be in any way diminished by what might
Nice.
come.
Cool. Very
So
cool.
that's where I'm at with season 2. So hopefully they get to do it and they get to do it well.
And they do it right. Yeah, let's hope that they do it right. Cool. So what is your top show for today for 2024? Because we know it could shift around.
I mean, if you know me, then, if you've heard me speak, then there's really no question.
All right. So like
it is the Penguin. It is Penguin.
I was right.
It is Penguin.
Yeah.
I
All
mean,
right on.
Come
on. Right.
Yeah. This is everything that I love. It is gangster shit, is crime shit,
Street,
is just street level.
Young man struggling.
Gritty. It's New York. It's and not the Broadway side of the city. Just really
streets that we know, streets that I recognize
that I've walked, but just it's feeling that I've had, right, embodied in parts of this show. And I thought, Colin Farrell was amazing.
I barely, maybe a couple of 2-3 times where I was like, maybe I have an idea of a thought that might be him, but never did he break out of that makeup or that characterization. He was so buried down. Colin Farrell was so buried down inside there that was a performance. I don't know, because he was so natural.
Yes,
in the body.
Yes.
The weight of the body, the face, the scarring, the injury, and just all of the psychological pain as well as the physical pain that I'm assuming Penguin is in all time. Look, man, I'm in my 50s, right? I wake up and shit
feel
hurts for like no reason. Like why does this hurt? And for him to pull that off was just a performance of a lifetime.
It really was, and it was emotional. It was gripping. And it left, me thinking like, this is how things get done. Let people tell their stories. These are 2 examples of between Agatha and Penguin where the showrunners, the storytellers got to tell their story.
Right.
And as fantastical and as imaginary and as, high fantasy, whatever you want to call it. When people get to tell their stories, it's going to sink or swim, but at least it's theirs.
Right. Not like the show that shall not be named.
Yes, it was,
which was no disrespect to Dr. Frankenstein, but it really was an assemblage of parts.
That could be disrespect to Dr. Frankenstein because at least he got the monster.
Exactly, you got it working.
It actually
worked. Where they took it apart and they gave it to another director. It was just a complete. Right. And it's like, guys, draw a box, assign a budget, approve the people,
get out the way.
And get out the way. And then, if you need to do some checks on the outside, but
of course.
Stay on the outside of that box.
Of course.
And let the creators bounce around inside the box. But once you cross that interior line, you're now out of the executive zone and you're in the creative zone.
And we don't want that.
Right. there may be an executive who is creative from time to time, but the more often than not, give the creatives their box.
Yeah.
Look at the Wachowskis when they did the first Matrix.
Yes.
Shoestring budget.
Yes.
And man, they knocked that thing out the park, right?
Nailed it.
Because they had a box and they had a budget and that was it. And go create. You need constraints, but you don't need people second guessing you.
Right.
So
yeah, Penguin is number 1 for me today. And again, John with this, only 3. There are so many other shows that deserve to be, mentioned. A Man Inside with Ted Danson, the Fallout TV show. We're watching Silo. I'm watching Silo and this Abbott Elementary. There were just so many good TV shows. The Acolyte. So many things that
Skeleton Crew right now.
Skeleton Crew is really good. Like my kid is into it. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah.
It's just, there's good stuff going on. There's good stuff going on. Prophecy, Doom, Prophecy.
Right.
You know, and there's just...
the magic, crazy space eye wizard dude.
Arcane season 2.
Right. Dude, I heard that Arcane is one of the most expensive shows.
250 million.
Like 14, 15 million an episode.
Yeah, that's insane.
And it's not getting numbers like like a $14, $15 million episode.
But it was a good show.
I wish they would have. What was that late hit Netflix last year about that weird alien planet? I'm then blanking the name.
I don't remember.
Oh, it was so good. Anyway, I wish they could have splashed some of that money at those guys. Right on. So, what is your air quotes guilty pleasure show? What's a show that you love and you watch it, but you'd be a little bit like, I don't think I'm going to put this on my top 10 list because it's just like a Twinkie. It's just like the sugary snack.
Wow. I don't think I had a guilty pleasure.
Really?
I don't think so.
You got no reality TV shows?
No, I don't do reality TV shows, period.
Okay.
So that's out of that's not even in my realm. But I don't think there's anything that I would be like, oh man, I shouldn't tell people I watched that. I don't have one of those this year.
Or you put it on your sleeve and you go, I love this show.
Right. I don't care what you think. I don't have one of those. I really don't. I think the things that I've watched this year, I would champion.
So what is a show that might not be credible in some ways, like, big budget, big actors, right? Prestige kind of things. But when you watch it, it just made your heart sing.
Oh, now that's a tough question.
Just fun. It was just fun as hell.
What's yours? Give me a minute. What's yours?
Well, last year, because I haven't gone, like I said, I haven't gone through my list this year. And this year was crazy because when I was in between our, marquee shows, I was kind of just trying to like lay low and let my brain rest. Last year, it was 100-Foot Wave, which is, I think it's Max. It's an HBO. I don't know if it's HBO or Max, but it's on HBO Max. It's on the Max network. And it's about this surfer guy and a group of other surfers who are all in, what is that? I forget the name of the place, off of on Portugal, on the Portuguese coast, where they get that 100-foot wave, like the biggest wave in the world.
Oh boy!
And these people are just, it's craziness. And there's the main character guy. I mean, this is real. This is a documentary, and he's a father, and he's got tons of kids. They live in Hawaii, and he's like this. He's invented all these things about how to do big wave surfing and all this kind of stuff. And he just keeps throwing his body into these like deadly situations. And I'm like, bro, you're a father. You got, people to take care of. But he's so intense and he's so wound up. But on the outside, he's a chill guy. But it's gorgeous. Like the documentary photography is beautiful. The shots that they get from the surfing, all the different surfing things, and just seeing this industry of big wave surfing, the drones, the jet skis, the special inflatable suits, the thousands of people who crowd this coastline for these big wave things. But it's so well done, but these people are like the furthest thing from my life.
Okay.
And I love it.
The Black Doves.
Oh, I just started that the other day.
The Black
I don't
Doves.
even know if I'm going to get into it all the way.
The Black Doves.
All right.
Yeah. I'll say that. I'll say the Black Doves.
I watched episode 1.
Yeah. It
reminded me a little bit of Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
But it's not.
Okay. All right.
And the way, I haven't seen Mr. and Mrs. Smith, let me just put that out there. But the way you just described it, it's not that.
You should see Mr. and Mrs. Smith, though.
Okay. I'll put it on my list.
Just for the Danny Glover of it all, because he's so good.
Okay, I'll put it on my list.
As a creative producer, right? As a writer.
I'll put it on the list.
He's a sharpshooter.
It's more...
Danny, did I say Danny Glover? Is that the right name?
You said Danny Glover or Donald?
No, I'm not thinking... What am I thinking of saying Danny Glover? I'm thinking
Gambino.
Gambino.
Donald Glover.
Is it Donald Glover?
Yeah, that's his name, isn't it?
Mr. and Miss. It's that thing that happens to you where the words stop making sense. You make the sounds, but they don't connect to your brain.
Well, I thought you were saying that the Danny Glover was a writer on the show.
I'm tripping.
But it's Donald Glover. It's
Donald Glover. Yeah. Yes, it's Donald Glover.
Yeah, I was just thinking, Danny Glover's on the road?
Yeah.
I gotta watch this.
I got the Glovers.
I gotta get this. But yeah. So
people are gonna be mad at me. They're already mad at me because I got I got Star Trek 5 at the bottom of my OG movie list. So they're giving me a hard time about that.
That's okay. That's all right. We don't apologize on Lorehounds. Hey,
that's right. That's right. My take's my take.
That's right. We don't apologize over here. But yeah.
All right. So
the Black Doves.
Black Doves.
The Black Doves.
Okay. So it's because I watched the first episode. Some of the quality was like.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's the best.
Gotcha.
But
you loved it.
Yeah, it's enjoyable.
Invigorating. Cool.
Yeah,
right on.
It's enjoyable.
So comics versus you and Alicia have a busy year.
Yeah, 2025 is going to be amazing. Ooh. It's going to be amazing.
We're putting the show tracker together, which subscribers can get access to, and we're looking at the run. And man, it is stacked this year.
Yeah.
Anything? What's your number one for next year for a comics?
Comics God, Superman.
Superman. DC, James Gunn.
Superman.
Okay.
Because this is going to set
the bar.
It's going to make or break James Gunn's DC universe, I think.
Okay.
So there's a lot riding on this movie, and we shall see. I saw today that there may be a trailer next week. So
do we have a release date or a release time frame? June-ish?
No, I'll give you the exact date. Give me a minute. But
it's all right. We'll get it in the show tracker one way or the other.
July 11th.
July 11th.
July 11th. 2025.
July 11. Okay, that's a big one.
Yeah. So I think that is the most important superhero comic movie of the last 5 years. Because
I think you're right. I think I'm with you on that.
Because if they fuck up Superman,
that's it.
And I'm Cavill's my Superman. I'm putting that out there right now. So that's my guy. Cavill is my guy. That is my Superman. So there's a lot riding on this movie. So I would say Superman.
Sounds good. All right, my man. We'll have a great holiday season. Give my love to your family. We miss you guys.
Absolutely. My love to everyone.
You still need to get yourself up to Vermont.
Man, I know, but it's cold.
It is cold right now. I'm telling you, it's cold. All right, man. Peace. Be well.
Take care.
Aaron, host of Radioactive Ramblings. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you today, John?
Just dandy. I get to talk with you just about the best TV of the year. No stakes. What's going on with your TV year?
So, my top 3, I have 2 serious shows and 1 less serious show in my number 3 spot.
Very nice. I like it.
My number 3 show, should I start from the bottom and go up, or am I starting
I think
from the
so.
top?
You gotta keep upping the ante.
All right. So I'll start with my number 3 show, which that was my show that I decided was going to be a little bit more fun and less serious, and it ended up being Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Oh, is that less serious? I think it's a serious show.
I think compared to some of the prestige television that I watched this year, which I kind of hate to use that word because I think that all television has its own merits and interesting things going on. But as far as the production and everything, I thought it was so impressive. And I'm just a big Donald Glover fan, so I had to put that somewhere on my list.
That's a good one. Yeah, the comedy in that, there is a lot of comedy in that show, but I think it acts more as an enhancer of the drama for me. So I'm glad you put this on your list.
Yeah, I actually started watching it because I heard the one shot that was done on the Lorehounds.
Oh, so it did its job.
Yes, it absolutely did. Same thing with Pachinko, actually. I watched the first episode the other day.
Nice. You liking it so far?
I'm liking it a lot so far. I think it's pretty fantastic. The acting in both of these shows, it's just incredible. It goes above and beyond.
Yeah, David, Alicia, and Nate are on a mission to make the whole world pachinko watchers, and maybe they will succeed one day, starting with
They
you.
succeeded with me, at least.
Yeah. What's your number 2?
My number 2, this, of course, being the genesis of Radioactive Ramblings, had to be on here, and it is Fallout.
Very nice.
Yeah. The costume design, everything about the world was just so fantastic. I've been a Fallout fan for probably, over a decade, which is crazy because I'm only 20 years old. But yeah, Fallout, it just really captured my imagination, and it's exactly what I wanted to see on screen out of a video game adaptation. Big year for video game adaptations.
It was.
Yeah.
Well, okie dokie. What was your number 1?
So, my number 1 actually landed here because this show made me feel a little bit gullible, and it was The Penguin.
Okay.
So,
like gullible. Go on with that.
Yeah, let me explain a little bit. So, throughout the course of watching this show, at various points, was rooting for the Penguin, and by the end of the series, when I got to the last few episodes, I was like, wow, that was a really, really stupid. I don't know how I saw this guy as anything other than just a straight up villain throughout this series. So the show did a good job of making me sympathize with him towards the beginning, and then at the very end ripping it all away from me.
Yeah, that's a good point, and it's a real testament to the show, because I don't think we would be wanting to watch a show where every week we can't empathize with the main character.
Yeah, very much like Walter White in Breaking Bad in that regard.
Yep. Very Breaking Bad show.
Yeah.
Well, cool.
Right.
That's a good pick for number 1. That's a very good show. All 3 of your picks were on my list.
Oh, really?
So you will hear where they are, listener, if you listen to the main episode, which is already out. So there's no excuses.
I'm excited to hear these bonus questions that you've got for me.
Yes. So we're going to start off here with a guilty pleasure. What's your guilty pleasure show of the year?
Ooh, guilty pleasure. I don't know if it's necessarily guilty, but
You don't have to feel guilt. You can just say it's a dumb show I like.
Yeah, Bob's Burgers, hands down. I'm always a Bob's Burgers fan.
Well, that's a good one. I haven't watched anything recent, but I did love Bob's Burgers for a while. And of course, a Thanksgiving staple. The only show really putting out quality Thanksgiving media.
And Linda's Thanksgiving song that she sings is classic.
Right. And her Valentine's Day song. She's got great songs overall. See, I'm old enough to know when Linda, the guy who plays Linda, was just a YouTuber doing like mom shtick.
Yes, seeing clips of that online, it's just hilarious.
See, I was in like middle school when that came out, and we were just laughing so hard at this. Guy becomes a serious actor. It's very funny. It's been a trip for us millennials. So the next one I'm going to give you is your biggest miss of the year. What's a show you really wanted to watch, but you didn't get around to?
Are we counting shows that I haven't watched in their entirety, or just shows that I have completely missed?
You could count partial watches if you want.
Since I've only seen the first episode of Pachinko, I'm probably going to put that into my biggest miss category. I wish I would have gotten on that train a little bit sooner.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I too feel a little FOMO for the Pachinko stuff, but I'm like, well, now I have like 2 years to do whatever I need to do.
For sure.
And lastly, your most anticipated show of 2025.
Most anticipated? I would say Andor, if it's still coming out in 2025. I know there's been some questions about that, but I think it's pretty set now. That's definitely my most anticipated.
Well, that was also the community's most anticipated show for 2025 by like double the next one.
Wow. All right. So I'm glad I'm in step with the community on this one.
You felt, can you hear the people sing, right? All right, Aaron. Well, this was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for being a part of our community this year. It's been so nice to welcome you and Chase and Richard to the network.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for hosting us. We always we love to be a part of this community, and it's just such a welcoming place, and the conversations being had all around are just so much fun. So thank you guys so much.
John sounds like James Earl Jones. It's ridiculous.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that would have been nice.
I think it would have been funny, but
we lost him too soon. It would be nice for John to just take over.
Oh, yeah. I like that idea.
There's a lot of voice work to be done.
There are so many films and shows where we need him. We need that voice back in place. So,
yeah, who would have thought it was going to be John from the Lorehounds?
I know. Maybe we should secretly record his voice and send in an audition tape to the studio.
Are you there, Steve?
I'm here.
Oh, you're faint and mouthful of food, which is
on brand.
Two no-nos of podcasting.
I have no food in my mouth, and I'm fine. But you keep on constructing your own narrative.
Well, if you were not chewing food, my mind only goes to worse places.
So, I mean, is it possible that your ears are the problem?
No,
it's not. It's not a me issue.
Cannot be. But my ears are a problem in terms of the amount of hair that they're growing these days.
I don't know if I needed to know that on this podcast, but I think I'll
Which
just have
podcast did you need to know?
Yeah.
All right. So why are we here? We're here for the Lorehounds end of year something or other.
Yeah. So we love to check in with all of our affiliates and co-hosts and to get a quick check-in on what they felt that their favorite shows were for the year.
Now, I do have a point of clarification. Our list.
Yes.
Should it just be shows that came out in 24, or are they shows that we're enjoying or we enjoyed in 24?
They are shows that within a reasonable degree either started or ended in 2024.
So my rewatch of the Rockford Files wouldn't apply.
That's evergreen as it is.
One of my favorite Rockford Files episodes was he rolls up to a house or a business or something that he's, going to investigate in. Mm-hmm. And in the passenger seat of his car, he has a business card maker, kind of like one of those old style credit card presses machine, just in the passenger seat of his car. And he just printed himself a business card for the identity that he needed for that investigation.
Man, always thinking this guy.
Telling you what, man, I was like, I got to get one of those for myself, just print a business card on the spot.
All right. So reasonably close to 2020.
If it's reasonable to fit within the 2024 year time frame, then that's what we're looking for.
All right. Take it away, David.
Steve, what is your third most favorite show of 2024?
My third most favorite show of 2024 would be Baby Reindeer.
Oh, wow. Wow. I think I watched one episode, maybe two, and then didn't get much beyond. It was what made it enjoyable for you?
How unenjoyable it was.
It's like the ultimate in cringe, isn't it?
Oh, it's an amazing it is. It's kind of like a masterclass in cringe on like so many different levels. As reliable as the narrator can be, I suppose. I mean, because it's pretty, autobiographical, and I mean, it's a pretty vulnerable story to tell about yourself, and it's just I don't know. I think my wife and I went through it in like one sitting.
Wow. It's bonkers, wow. And it really does draw you in. If it is autobiographical, it's just a horrific story to tell about yourself.
And there was some controversy, wasn't there? Because I believe the woman in question, the quote unquote real person, there was some objection by her, or she.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was. My understanding, she got interviewed, and it might have been Piers Morgan, and she was refuting everything. And pretty quickly after she was refuting everything, it was like, oh no, this seems about right.
Great. So life and art are intertwined, deeply intertwined here. I'm curious, Anthony, did Baby Reindeer make your list at all?
It did not make my list. The third show on my list was Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Aha! Very good show. I
Loved Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Did not enjoy the original film.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I'm a little bit more open to a remake if I feel like the source material didn't quite hit the sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
Like this could be improved upon. Absolutely improved upon. Love this show. The chemistry between these two is really works well. Perfect tonal balance between kind of comedic action, but also it's more rom-com than anything else. So I quite liked it.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. And I would love to see this as a kind of an anthology show where we get different couples in the future and they start to play with it a little bit. Yeah.
Well, Steve, you enjoyed Mr. and Mrs.
Yeah, this was actually my number 2.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So, it was actually Anthony was the one who recommended it, and I was a little surprised because it didn't necessarily scream this is an Anthony recommendation type show. And it's another one that I think we went through it pretty quickly. Really enjoyed the chemistry between the two leads. Really liked because again, going back to the original, it's like the movie. It's like, yeah, I mean, sure, it's fun. It's kind of weird or whatever, and but this I really liked the kind of the decay of the relationship, and the sense of if you're going to be this type of a person, what is your capacity for love? And I think it touched on those things in a way that was, I think, pretty interesting. And also, like I said, it's funny, it's action, but it's, I didn't feel like anything was sacrificed of those elements, to tell the story. And that was really, really, just a fun ride, but also like, I cared about people that you shouldn't care about. And it was kind of, and they were okay with that. I don't know. I thought it was definitely put together, in my opinion.
I really loved the chemistry with Danny Glover and Maya Erskine, and this feels like a Glover show. Like this just falls so well into his wheelhouse and the kinds of things that he creatively gets involved in. So, right, Anthony, your number 2.
The Great British Baking Show.
Oh, okay.
I never miss an episode. This is one of the few ones my wife and I watched together.
What made this season particularly good above other seasons?
Well, okay, I could talk
2.
about this. Last time I talked about this on a show, I got an emailer telling me that I spoiled the final episode for her. And I don't want to make the same mistake as I did before. So I'm not going to spoil the final episode, but I will say this. Having lived for a time in Britain, I love all of the subtle insults that are leveled both by the contestants and the hosts. I love all of the
innuendo.
Not necessarily the innuendo. It's sort of like, it's a little bit like, it's the word disappointing, but the subtext is, this is dog shit. And you should be ashamed. You should go home and never show your face again. And if it's the subtext and it's sort of the way it's just that subtle amount of eye contact. And anyway, I do love watching people bake beautiful food and talk about it. But for me, it's the Britishisms of the show that really
got it.
Bring it to new heights.
This was the first season where we got a shoulder pat instead of a handshake.
So you're watching Great British.
Oh yeah,
fantastic.
I don't skip the intros either. I watch the intro every single time.
For me, that was one of the biggest slights of the entire show. It's like so it's already subdued. Like the greatest thing that you can have is for Paul Hollywood to give you a handshake. You could like dine out on that bit of lore for the rest of your life.
Right.
the fact that it wasn't good enough for a handshake, but he called out the fact that he was giving a shoulder pat. For the rest of her life, that woman will think, was he insulting me or complimenting me? I don't know.
Patronizing? Yeah.
And she will replay that moment in her mind for the rest of her life, not knowing if it was good or bad. And that's the kind of stuff that I love.
And that brings us round to your number one, Steve. What is your top show of 2024?
Much to Anthony's chagrin, I'm going to go with The Penguin.
Aha. Anthony, you caught a lot of flack on the community Discord for your takes on The Penguin.
Yeah.
Not unlike my opinions of Star Trek V, which I've put on the bottom of my OG ranking, or the fact that I think Joel is a monster in The Last of Us. So I feel for you in that same brotherly space of, I'm pretty clear about my thoughts and feelings about this, but everybody else seems to think I'm crazy. So
there were things I liked about The Penguin, but let's not dwell on the negative. Let's let Steve wax on up the show that he most loves.
Well, I mean, really, if you want to understand how much I like it, I would suggest you would go listen to Properly Howard and catch the 2 episodes where we look at the first and then do the summary of the show. So it's a show that I was a little hesitant to I mean, I was going to watch it for sure because I like things Batman related, but
are you a Batman stan? I think you are because you guys talked about it.
I can't say that I've ever seen a comic book. So, I mean, I've seen them, but I've never read one. So it's like, I am definitely a Batman. There's a segment of the Batman stands that are just strictly the movies. Then I'm like, I'll do an apologetics on Batman and Robin as well, if anybody needs. I really liked the Batman. I liked the Batman more than Anthony did. So I think I was already a little bit more, ready to watch this show. But I was kind of like, I didn't know what exactly what to expect. Because the Penguin is a very, he's been portrayed in so many different ways, but, I was curious how compelling they were going to make it. Like, cause Penguin always felt like is he really an adversary for Batman? Like, I mean, what is he bringing to the table? And this episode, I think, really, I mean, or this whole season did something with him, not only in the Batman universe, but just as a show, a kind of a standalone show. Since there really is no Batman in it, other than like a couple of allusions to it, I think it stands alone as a compelling show. The fact that it has the overlay of this is developing something that is going to contribute to the next film is even more. I think it's more creative to do that with. Like, I know the Marvel movies do that, but this feels like a great way to get to that next film where we don't have to do all this backstory. We can just insert the Penguin in this new role, and we can see how that plays out instead of having to develop a villain more so in the next movie.
I kind of feel like they cracked the code with bouncing between the small screen and the big screen in a way that Marvel has yet to be fully successful with. Like, Marvel's come close a couple of times, but this felt you could be a casual fan, just a casual viewer, stumble across the Penguin, and you could be in this world and get this storyline without knowing anything else about the Batman. Maybe except for the very end little scene, but otherwise, it's just a really compelling crime drama. And then yet when the next movie comes out, this adds so much layer and so many layers of complexity and motivation and just really ramps the stakes in such a way. So, yeah.
Yeah. And beyond just the Penguin himself, right? I mean, I think just and Anthony and I talk about the importance of Gotham City as a character in many of these films. And this gives us just more we get to see more of Gotham City that we may never even have to encounter, but we understand it as a backdrop even further because of this film. So or because of the show. I really it serves me well to go, okay, now I'm excited for the next one in a new way, but also I could keep watching these types of spin-offs ad nauseum, to be honest.
Agreed. Yeah, good pick. It's going to be high in my list as well when I get around to it. Anthony, that brings us around to your number one pick for 2024.
Number one pick, the final season of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Wow, you and John are John's gonna like to hear this. He was very high on the season.
I think the show only got better over the year. You know, sort of like if you think of shows in terms of arcs, you know, a lot of times the pilot season with dramas are just kind of getting sea legs, and then they really pick up the pace. Sometimes there's a dip in the second season with short series. Like they had a great idea for a first season, a lot of success, little bit of a dip in the second season. Curb is one of these weird shows where every season got better. Like the first season is almost unwatchable in my mind. And he did so many of these things.
12 seasons.
Yeah. I think that there has been a move in comedy away from something that would be specifically thought of as Jewish humor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Jewish humor...
Are you a Mizell fan?
You know what? It's a good point. I did watch that. Didn't enjoy it nearly as much, but I could see that as an iteration of Jewish humor as well. Mm-hmm. I think... For the most part, for, I don't know, like 50 years, most of Hollywood comedy was kind of post-vaudeville. Mm-hmm. And somehow there's been a shift. Really, I think sort of a lot of people mark Seinfeld as the end of this.
That's what was in my mind.
Yeah. The end of this sort of era of really Jewish influenced humor. Mm-hmm. And I think Larry David was kind of the one holdout, you know, still doing the kind of thing that I recognize and really just love the most. Mm-hmm. Like that's my sweet spot. I think it's brilliant. And in addition to that, impressive that most of the show is unscripted.
It's a real capstone to an incredible amount of content produced and holding to a creative vision and delivering year on year on year on season after season.
Yeah.
You know, and in some ways it kind of belongs into a Hall of Fame kind of thing.
On top of that, it really has to go into Ted Danson's sort of Hall of Fame case. Right? Like, I think you put him in maybe 4 of the top 10 sitcoms of all time. Mm-hmm. And this has got to be one of them. And so I appreciate, you know, he's not a major character on this particular show, but it is some of his best work.
All right. Bonus question. What is your guilty pleasure? Something that you would not credibly put on a top 10 ranking list, but you love it nonetheless. Steve?
I'm a sucker for Ink Master.
Not Forged in Fire?
Oh, dude, I love Forged in Fire.
This blade will kill.
Oh, my God. So Forged in Fire is such a guilty pleasure that I can only watch it when my wife's out of the house.
Yeah, out of town, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, continent. And it is, it will kill. I mean, Dave Marcaida. Oh my gosh, it's just I don't know if Anthony, if you've ever seen Forged in Fire, but good Lord, it is. Now it's not. I mean, I did like Knife or Death when that was brief for a while. When
I missed that one.
Yeah, that's good stuff. But yeah, Forged in Fire. There was a point where I started like Googling like forges. Like I was thinking about like, maybe it's time for a home forge.
Do you think you're? I don't think you live in an HOA, but you're in a mildly suburban neighborhood.
I'm out in the country. I can.
Oh, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm
fabulous.
so glad you mentioned Forged in Fire. That really is. Oh man, that's so good.
But anyway, you started to say.
Ink Master. I love Ink Master. It's not as. I don't think it's as good as it used to be. Once it kind of exclusively became, I think, a Paramount Plus jam. It just shortened a bit, and I feel like the earlier seasons were. It felt like there was much more detailed critique and understanding of like some of the techniques that go into tattooing. But I still enjoy. I enjoy when this season was a little bit disappointing. There wasn't as many bad tattoos. I love the bad tattoos.
Okay.
Just the idea that somebody's
Guess what? You got
somebody's so far out of their strength, but they have to do it anyway. And it's like someone gets a portrait that just looks like it's supposed to be like their aunt that passed away, and it ends up looking like a pug. That's my favorite.
And it's not like the is this cake or the what is the other one? There's like a dessert one where they make snack foods and stuff. My daughter watches a few of these things, and there it's fine. There's no stakes, but getting a tattoo on your body,
right,
for a challenge.
Okay, I have a follow up on this.
Yes.
So, Steve, you just recently got another major tattoo on your body.
True.
Oh. Did you find this artist via the show?
Yes, he's actually a judge.
Are you serious?
Okay. And
wow.
I don't know the show, but I'm sure some people will. What is the name of the tattoo art?
DJ Tamby and he's a 4-time winner of the show, and now he's a judge.
Okay. And can you just describe the tattoo for us?
It is a black and gray photorealistic Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, surrounded by full color Slimers, 3 different versions of Slimer from the Real Ghostbusters cartoon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
have you laid eyes on this?
I've seen a photo. I've certainly seen a photo. Now I have the same question my wife had, and that is, we were a little bit thrown by the 3 Slimers. Like it seems like too many Slimers. Shouldn't there only be a single Slimer? Can you explain why there are 3 Slimers?
Well, he wanted to do multiple ghosts, and he researched the Real Ghostbusters cartoon, and really there's no like memorable or iconic other ghosts on there. Like they're just sort of
right
episodic. Another ghost would show up, and so
you could almost have a spin-off, like a Scrappy Doo kind of thing with Slimer, couldn't you?
Totally, yeah. So Slimer was obviously the most featured, and he's like, well, I really love this color, I really love this look. He says, and I want to do. So he did 3 different versions, and it's and he's a ghost, so I think it's okay.
Huh. I feel like we need a photo of this on the Discord.
Yeah, I can make that happen.
Okay. All right, that's fabulous.
With Steve's permission.
Of course.
Of course. Informed consent. Ongoing and prior and ongoing consent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and DJ Tammy posted this on his Instagram.
Oh, well, then now it's public. Yeah.
And it's getting a lot of positive feedback, lots of shares. So
fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic.
Anthony?
Guilty pleasure.
No pleasures are guilty. Like, you should be open with your pleasures, right? But anyway, we like to spin it that way.
So I want to say that for most of my life, I've really turned up my nose at folks who were into reality television.
Mm-hmm.
And
like your co-host Steve,
like so much that like I would like make moral judgments about these people. Like this is the downfall of a society.
You're that kind of guy.
I really am kind of an asshole. I am why Trump was elected. Just in case you were wondering why Trump was reelected, it was my fault. So I found through my father this show called Alone.
I don't know it.
Which is reality television that's on the History Channel. And I would only watch it at my father's house when I was visiting California. And basically, it's kind of like, what if you take a survivalist and you put them in the Arctic? And
I love the logo here. It's like a wolf that blends into the trees, and there's somebody walking off into a snowstorm. Yeah,
well, there you go. Yeah.
Ooh, I feel cold right now.
So take some sort of survivalist out of, rural Arkansas who thinks that he's God's gift to nature.
Mm.
And then you put him in the Arctic with legitimate grizzly bears and big cats and wolves, and tell him, like, you can only bring 10 items. You're going to have to survive for 90 days or however long. They've got to outlast these other contestants. But they don't ever meet any of the other contestants. So a lot of it is sort of the psychological ramblings of madmen who like cannot take the isolation, and you know, they're basically freezing to death. And they're starving to death, and you get to watch it. And it's horrible. And I feel horrible, but I can't look away.
It's a really fascinating evolution of the naked and afraid kind of scenario. And then there's a whole bunch of other ones.
I've never seen
too.
Naked and Afraid.
Okay.
But
They're
for
naked.
some reason, this one like really hits my sweet spot. Because I like to think, you know, I'd like to think like I'm going to go out there and
be able to hack it.
It'd be really fun to build a fort, build a fire. Sounds like camping. So
first I've ever heard somebody who dies vicariously through a show.
I keep saying they're going to keep doing this show until someone like literally dies.
Legit dies, yeah.
Legit dies, and they're going to have it all on camera.
But would it be cynical for me to say the fact that would be an incredible ratings boost for them?
It would be a ratings boost for sure. However, I wonder if the network would allow, like it would be a YouTube sensation, right?
Mm-hmm.
I doubt that they would actually allow them to.
Because a lot of these shows, I mean, you see it on the margins sometimes. There's medics in camps nearby. They have radios. They have like ways to take care of them. But yeah, I mean, you could have a little weird freak accident and somebody could die quite easily.
You know, I think one of the seasons there was a dude who, like, he accidentally burned down his. He actually burned down his fort, and he was just going to be out of doors all night long in the Arctic. And they said, "Oh well, there's a storm, so the earliest we can get to you is, you know, tomorrow, which is about 12 hours from now." And he just had to figure out how to make it work.
Wow.
My wife thinks I'm a total dummy. She says all this is scripted. There's no way that they're putting these people in actual danger. It's like, oh no, people are that dumb. People will put themselves in danger, and
11 seasons of dumb.
Yeah. So I like it. It's certainly a guilty pleasure. I feel guilty.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it falls perfectly into that category. Well, guys, this was a lot of fun. And I think we're looking forward to Severance, right? We're going to do our joint coverage project.
Oh, yeah.
That is right around the corner.
It is right around the corner. We were looking at 2025. It's going to be a very busy year this year. A lot of big marquee shows coming back. And Severance is going to pretty much be the one that kicks it off. So we're going to be doing, the four of us, doing a episode by episode recap weekly. And you and Anthony have already done your season 1 recap, and we have that out on the special feed. It's a whole separate feed, so you got to make sure you go subscribe to that.
Yeah, do a search for Severance Lorehounds, and you'll find it.
Perfect. What else is Properly Howard up to these days?
Well, right after we finish talking with you, David, we will be reviewing the worst movie ever made, Cocktail.
Oh, nice. Tom Cruise juggling bottles and mixing things. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good stuff.
Juggling bottles, juggling women, juggling his own mortality, his own morality. A lot of juggling happened.
I can't wait to hear the podcast.
Thank you to everyone who stuck around for our 3.5 hours, give or take, of bonus content and top 10 rankings. Don't forget to click the link tree in the show notes to check out more of the voices that you heard from today. There's plenty of content to be had over the winter break. I hope everyone has a wonderful and restful holiday. I hope everyone has some time to spend with the people that they love. See you all in the new year, starting our list for 2025. The Lorehounds podcast is produced and published by The Lorehounds. You can send questions and feedback and voicemails at thelorehounds.com/contact. Get early and ad-free access to all Lorehounds podcasts at patreon.com/thelorehounds. Any opinions stated are ours personally and do not reflect the opinion of or belong to any employers or other entities. Thanks for listening.